Number 10. Philip K. Dick. It's the basic condition of life to be required to violate our own identity. For me, the strengths of Philip K. Dick as a writer are in the creativity of his ideas and his visions of the future. And the way he paints those visions in such a surreal and psychedelic way really forced me to think about things like identity and reality and our futures. I absolutely loved Ubik. It's one of my favorite books, and I really enjoyed Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep as well. I was a little bit mixed on The Man in the High Castle, but he has so many more books that I want to read, including A Scanner Darkly, that I can't wait to dive more into Philip K. Dick and see if he can rise even higher on this list. Let me know some of your favorites from PKD. Number 9. Arkady Martine. Released. I am a spear in the hands of the sun. Arkady Martine is the author of the Teixcalan duology, including A Memory Called Empire and A Desolation Called Peace. And what I loved about this duology is how Martine built this galactic empire, but within that world, she told a story that was really personal, with really fleshed out characters, really interesting relationship dynamics, and incredibly sharp dialogue. I love taking that journey with these characters and learning more about them as the scale of the story and the scope of the ideas got bigger and bigger throughout those 2 books. She is a relatively new writer with only 2 books, but I think she's a beautiful writer and I've loved what I've read so far, and I can't wait to see what's next from Arkady Martine. Number 8. Orson Scott Card. Perhaps it's impossible to wear an identity without becoming what you pretend to be. I think Orson Scott Card is a very well-rounded writer. When it comes to plot, characters, sci-fi concepts, themes, he hits all the notes that I am looking for in a sci-fi book. I'm always blown away when I remember that Ender's Game is only around 300 pages, and I can't believe how much he was able to pack into that one single book. Ender's Game is one of my absolute favorites, and I loved Ender's Shadow as well. The Ender's Game sequel, Speak of the Dead, I quite like that one, and it's very different. It's quite slow and philosophical, so if you like those aspects of Ender's Game, you might enjoy Speak of the Dead even more. Let me know if I need to continue with the Ender series from Orson Scott Card. Number 7. Andy Weir. Maybe I'll post a consumer review. Brought product to surface of Mars. It stopped working. 0 out of 10. There aren't too many books I read faster than Andy Weir books. I'm not sure how he does it, but he seems to make maths and science fun. He takes these kind of hard sci-fi concepts and makes them accessible and fun and fast-paced. And when you add in some nice character moments here and there as well, I think you have some great sci-fi books that will appeal to a range of different sci-fi readers. I have only read The Martian and Project Hail Mary, but I absolutely loved both of them. I haven't read Artemis, which had some mixed reactions, and maybe that worked to his benefit. But so far, for me, Andy Weir is 2 for 2. Can't wait to watch the film of Project Hail Mary. Ryan Gosling is one of my favorites. I'm getting sidetracked because I'm so excited to talk about Andy Weir. Can't wait to see what's next. Number 6. Cixin Liu. No, emptiness is not nothingness. Emptiness is a type of existence. You must use this existential emptiness to fill yourself. Cixin Liu is the author of the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy, and what really stood out to me in this trilogy was the concepts. The ideas in this book really shattered my understanding of physics and existence and the universe. These books might not appeal to everyone because they are quite hard sci-fi. The writing can feel a little cold at times, and the characters are definitely not the focus of the story. But the ideas captivated my imagination. They held my attention at all times, and I just could not stop flicking through those pages. I really enjoyed The Three-Body Problem, but the sequels, The Dark Forest and Death's End, really took those concepts to the next level and just absolutely blew my mind in a way that only sci-fi can. And just quickly, before we get to number 5, if you want to join the discussion and talk about some of your favorite sci-fi authors, feel free to join our Discord server. I'll leave the link to that in the description. Number 5, Christopher Rocchio. My memory is to the world as a drawing is to the photograph. Imperfect. More perfect. We remember what we must, what we choose to, because it is more beautiful and real than the truth. Christopher Rocchio is the author of the Sun Eater series, and as I think you can tell, one of his strengths as a writer is his beautiful prose. All of his books are quite long, but it doesn't matter whether he is describing the world or his characters or the action or the technology. There is so much thought and love and care put into every single sentence, and I could honestly read him write about almost anything. I have been completely captivated by the Sun Eater universe, and I am so invested in those characters, and I am dying to find out what happens next. I have read the first 4 main books in the main series, as well as some short story collections and novellas. Book 5 comes out in December, and Book 6, the final book in the series, should be released next year. So if you haven't read Sun Eater yet, now is an amazing time to jump on board. Welcome to the Empire. Number 4. Arthur C. Clarke. The planets you may one day possess, but the stars are not for man. Arthur C. Clarke is one of the greats of science fiction. He's a classic writer, and while his harder style of sci-fi might not click for everyone, personally, I love how he takes ideas that are rooted in science and then zooms them out to ask these kind of existential, universal questions that really just blow your mind in terms of the ambitiousness and the scope. But while these ideas are so very zoomed out, they simultaneously also feel very personal to me. The way that I'm able to connect with Arthur C. Clarke's writing and his ideas never ceases to amaze me. I've read 3 of his books, Rendezvous with Rama, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and my personal favorite, Childhood's End. It's only 200 pages and it's split into 3 parts, but each part just blew me away more than the one before it. I couldn't believe how that book ended, and I still think about it all the time. I read it a year or 2 ago now, and it just hits me, and it'll just pop up into my head, and it's really stuck with me. And I think that's a great example of some amazing sci-fi writing from Arthur C. Clarke. Number 3, Dan Simmons. It occurs to me that our survival may depend upon our talking to one another. Dan Simmons is the author of the Hyperion Cantos, and for me, this is one of the great achievements of science fiction. In this series, we have some of the best character writing within the genre, and also possibly my favorite sci-fi universe. I connected with this series on a number of levels, whether it was enjoying the epic sci-fi concepts or relating to the personal themes. This series is a little bit inconsistent. Simmons makes a few odd choices, which got some mixed reactions from fans, but overall, I think the way that this series connects as a whole is something really special. It is absolutely one of my favorite sci-fi series. Simmons is also known for his Ilium and Olympus duology, which I haven't read yet, but I will be in October and November. Alex from Tall Guy Reads and I got together and we organized a little bit of a read-along. So if you haven't read Ilium and Olympus and you would like to join us, check out the links in the description to see how you can follow along. Number 2, Alastair Reynolds. The first 6 million years have been all fun and games. When it comes to sci-fi concepts, Alastair Reynolds might be my favorite writer. He takes hard sci-fi, these mind-blowing concepts, and then puts them into really interesting, engaging, and exciting narratives. When I read an Alastair Reynolds book, I'm not just blown away by the ambitiousness of the ideas, but the sheer volume that he packs into each and every book. When I was reading his book, House of Suns, I can honestly say I was blown away around every 50 pages when he would introduce a new and imaginative sci-fi concept. And I also love how he takes things that you're familiar with and then puts his spin on them. You like chase scenes? You ever seen one take place over tens of thousands of years? Then watch this. And he'll do something like that and he'll keep you on the edge of your seat the whole time. It truly is stunning, and I can't believe that I've actually only read just 3 of his standalones. House of Suns, Chasm City, and Aversion, which I all thoroughly enjoyed, and I own Pushing Ice, which I can't wait to get to as well. And that's not even counting his Revelation space series and so on and so forth. So, Alastair Reynolds, master of the space opera, you have to give him a try. And just before I get to my number 1 sci-fi writer of all time, I wanted to give a huge shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much to all of you. I really appreciate the support. If you're interested in becoming a patron, if you're a fan of the channel and the content, definitely check out the link in the description to my Patreon to see some of the benefits like voting on what I read and joining some fun video hangouts. Number 1, Kurt Vonnegut. Many people need desperately to hear this message. I feel and think much as you do. Care about many of the things you care about, although most people do not care about them. You are not alone. Kurt Vonnegut is my favorite writer of all time. No one has had as big an impact on me both as a reader and as a person as he did. I think Vonnegut is someone that is able to appreciate the beauty in the world, as well as notice the absurdity. And when it comes to the pain that we all experience, Vonnegut lets us know that he's experiencing it with us. I've read nearly everything that Kurt Vonnegut has written, and not all of his books are sci-fi, but I don't think it's a coincidence that some of my favorites from him are indeed science fiction. I think Slaughterhouse-Five, Cat's Cradle, and The Sirens of Titan are just absolute landmark achievements. If you haven't read those books, please give them a try, and I hope, like me, you find something imaginative, personal, and beautiful.